People are not paying money to see Angel Reese play basketball.
It is unrivaled. It is also unwatched.
If people wanted to watch her play, Unrivaled would not be struggling in the ratings.
If you want to be considered the GOAT, you got to have GOAT-like performances.
But who wants to see a woman miss layups?
I don't know what it is. She gets ejected, only plays 7 minutes, and her team wins.
Angel Reese just had one of the most embarrassing performances of her career. She missed easy layups, got ejected in disgrace, and then broke down in tears as social media erupted. In what was supposed to be a defining moment for her in Unrivaled, she instead found herself exposed, not as a dominant player, but as one who thrives on drama. Now, she's desperately trying to flip the narrative. For 2 years, I have covered Angel Reese extensively.
She has her worst professional pro game, and her team wins.
Angel Reese is important. To who? I have been covering Angel Reese for about 2 years now. I have yet to see her draw a single fly to a fresh turd. But according to Angel Reese, everything I do keep going viral.
In that time, I have yet to see her command the attention of basketball fans in the way her social media numbers might suggest. Yet, according to Reese herself, everything she does goes viral. This weekend, however, it wasn't for the right reasons. This was supposed to be Reese's moment.
Number one complaint in the WNBA has been their minimum wage salaries. Unrivaled is giving WNBA players the opportunity to make dollars instead of cents. Not only is Angel Reese not happy, over the weekend, Angel Reese once again lost emotional control as she got on social media and expressed her desire to return to the minimum wage that she was making in the
She was among the biggest names promoting Unrivaled, a new league aiming to provide WNBA players with an alternative platform to showcase their talents while earning significantly higher salaries. The biggest complaint in the WNBA has always been about low salaries, and Unrivaled promised to change that by giving players the opportunity to make real money instead of barely scraping by. However, despite months of hyping up the league, Reese suddenly made a surprising admission. She wants to return to the WNBA. Over the weekend, after another frustrating game, Reese took to social media, expressing her desire to go back to the Chicago Sky. This stunned many fans, considering she had spent weeks talking about how great Unrivaled was. "I can't wait to get back to Chicago, man," she posted. Someone quickly called her out, responding, "Don't do that. You spent days bragging about how great Unrivaled is." The contradiction in Reese's statements raised eyebrows. If you were making $73,000 a year and someone offered you $250,000 to do the same job, would you go out of your way to publicly disrespect them? This sudden shift in attitude suggests one thing: Unrivaled is failing. Attendance is weak, and Reese is realizing that without Caitlin Clark, the league has little staying power. 3 weeks into the season, Unrivaled is already facing major issues. The league can't even sell out an 800-seat studio, and the ratings are plummeting. Last Saturday, a game featuring Angel Reese failed to even hit 880,000 viewers. At some point, TNT Sports, the network broadcasting Unrivaled, will have to make a tough decision. If they aren't making money due to low ratings, how long before they pull the plug? Right now, they're not pulling in the numbers needed to sustain the league. Reese was supposed to be one of the main attractions, yet she's struggling to make an impact, both on the court and in the ratings. Professional basketball is different from college, and Reese is finding that out the hard way. Her loud, confident, and sometimes antagonistic style made her a standout personality in college, but in the pros, her antics aren't translating to success. Her latest game was a prime example of this. Rather than showing dominance, she had one of the worst performances of her career. She played only 7 minutes before being ejected, missing 5 easy shots, including point-blank layups that any elite player should make. These weren't tough, contested shots or deep threes. They were simple plays that separate great players from average ones. As her struggles mounted, so did her frustration. She visibly lost control, reacting dramatically to calls, throwing her hands up and arguing with officials instead of focusing on improving her game. Instead of bouncing back, she let emotions get the best of her, which ultimately led to her ejection. Reese's on-court frustration boiled over when she committed a foul and complained about the call. That led to a technical foul. Instead of letting it go, she kept arguing, earning a second technical and an automatic ejection. After getting tossed from the game, Reese took to Twitter, posting, "Happy Black History Month. Y'all know I had to be the first." She implied that her ejection was due to racial bias rather than her own actions. This only made things worse. Fans immediately called her out, pointing out that she wasn't ejected because of some conspiracy. She was ejected because of her behavior. Instead of accountability, Reese played the victim, and the backlash was swift. Social media was buzzing, but not because of her talent. People weren't talking about her dominance on the court. They were discussing her missed layups, her attitude, and how her presence seemed to be hurting her team more than helping. Many began questioning whether Reese was truly the star she had been made out to be. If she was supposed to be a draw, why wasn't she pulling in viewers? If she was supposed to be a leader in Unrivaled, why was she suddenly talking about going back to the WNBA? Reese's situation highlights a bigger issue. Unrivaled is not living up to expectations. This league was created to provide women's basketball players with a platform outside the WNBA, but the reality is setting in. Without major star power, the league is struggling. Caitlin Clark, the biggest name in women's basketball right now, opted not to join Unrivaled, choosing instead to enter the WNBA. Without her, Unrivaled lacks a true transcendent star who can bring in fans and boost ratings. Reese was supposed to help carry the league, but her performance has not matched the hype. Even her most dedicated supporters are beginning to question her ability to handle the professional level. The difference between hype-driven players and true stars is mental toughness. Great players reset and find ways to overcome adversity, but Reese let her emotions take over. She wasn't the first player to miss layups. She wasn't the first player to get ejected. But instead of owning up to her mistakes, she shifted blame and tried to turn the situation into a racial issue, which backfired spectacularly. Angel Reese's meltdown was more than just a bad game. It was a sign of deeper problems. Her inability to perform under pressure, combined with her tendency to stir controversy, is proving to be a major liability. Unrivaled needed her to be a star, but instead, she's becoming a distraction. With ratings declining and Unrivaled failing to gain traction, Reese's sudden desire to return to the WNBA makes sense. She sees the writing on the wall. The WNBA, despite its lower salaries, offers stability and long-term sustainability. Unrivaled, on the other hand, is looking more and more like a failed experiment. For Reese, this is a pivotal moment. If she continues down this path, blaming officials, making excuses, and prioritizing drama over performance, her career could take a serious hit. But if she refocuses, works on her game, and learns to control her emotions, she still has the potential to be a major player in women's basketball. The question is, can she make that adjustment? Or will she continue to self-destruct? One thing is certain, if Unrivaled continues on this path, Angel Reese won't be the only one looking to return to the WNBA. The league is at a crossroads, and its future depends on whether its stars can deliver more than just controversy. Here's a rewritten version of your requested piece in approximately 1,100 words, with improved structure and clarity while maintaining the original tone and key points. Angel Reese wanted attention, and she got it. But this time, it completely backfired. Instead of portraying herself as a dominant, confident player, she came across as childish and unprofessional. Her actions led to her ejection from a game in Unrivaled, the new player-owned women's basketball league, and instead of owning up to it, she immediately launched into damage control, blaming everyone but herself. After her ejection, Sports Illustrated ran an article with a simple and factual headline: Angel Reese becomes the first player to be ejected from Unrivaled. In response, Reese accused the outlet of clickbait, despite the fact that the statement was entirely accurate. Once again, she proved that everything she does goes viral, but not for the right reasons. Rather than taking responsibility for her behavior, Reese attempted to flip the script. She posted cryptic tweets, played the victim, and even hinted that her ejection was about something bigger than basketball. Most athletes take pride in accomplishments like scoring titles, MVP awards, or making all WNBA first team. Reese, on the other hand, seemed to be bragging about being the first player ever ejected from a league that few people are even watching. Reese took her frustration to social media, posting "Free me," as if she were trapped in some sort of unjust situation. But the reality is simple. She put herself in that position. The irony? She's not just a player in Unrivaled. She has an ownership stake in the league. She's also being paid far more for her time in this league than she is in the WNBA. Reports indicate Unrivaled is paying her $4 million for 8 weeks of play, while her WNBA salary with the Chicago Sky is just $73,000 over 5 months. Despite making millions, Reese still seems unsatisfied. She portrays herself as a victim, but the only thing she's truly suffering from is her own inability to control her emotions and act professionally. After her ejection, she threw a fit both on and off the court. It wasn't just frustration, it was a full-blown tantrum. Then, instead of accepting responsibility, she ran to Twitter to claim she was somehow being wronged. When that didn't work, she pulled out one of the most overused and dishonest tactics in sports discourse. She made it about race. Shortly after her ejection, Reese tweeted about Black History Month, implying that race played a role in her removal from the game. But let's be honest, this had nothing to do with race, and everything to do with her lack of composure. This isn't the first time she has leaned on racial narratives to divert attention from her behavior, and fans are beginning to see through it. The truth is that Angel Reese isn't being targeted because of her race. She's simply being held accountable for her actions. Many players, both black and white, have had emotional moments in their careers, but most of them learn from their mistakes. Reese, however, seems incapable of doing so. Instead of focusing on improving her game, she's too busy manufacturing controversies and blaming everyone else when things don't go her way. When Unrivaled was first announced, Reese was one of the league's biggest promoters. She hyped it up as the future of women's basketball, an opportunity for WNBA players to make real money outside of their usual contracts. But now that things aren't going her way, she's suddenly eager to leave. In a stunning contradiction, she recently tweeted that she can't wait to get back to Chicago. This is the same person who just days earlier was claiming Unrivaled was the next big thing. If she was so all in on the league, why is she so eager to get back to the WNBA? The answer is simple. Reese only supports things when they serve her personal interests. As soon as she encounters adversity, she's ready to abandon ship. Let's not forget, Unrivaled was designed to help WNBA players earn higher salaries. Reese has equity in the league. She should be one of its biggest advocates. But instead of helping grow the product, she's becoming its biggest liability. Meanwhile, the league itself is struggling. The ratings for Week 2 were dismal, failing to reach 100,000 viewers. Despite all of Reese's claims that she's a huge draw, the numbers tell a different story. Sure, clips of her airballing a wide-open 3 might go viral, but that doesn't mean people are actually tuning in to watch her play. If you want a perfect example of how two players can approach their careers differently, just look at Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark. The difference between them couldn't be more obvious. Reese thrives on drama, controversy, and social media antics. Clark, on the other hand, thrives on skill, leadership, and elite performances. Clark lets her game do the talking. She doesn't need to taunt opponents, make excuses, or cry on social media. She simply dominates on the court. Interestingly, Unrivaled was willing to offer Clark $1 million for just 2 months of play. Think about that. WNBA players supposedly don't like her, yet they were willing to make her the highest paid player in the new league. Why? Because they knew she was a legitimate draw. They knew she could bring viewers in a way Angel Reese never could. Without Clark, Unrivaled is a sinking ship. And with Reese at the center of controversy yet again, the league's credibility is taking even more hits. Despite all of Reese's self-promotion, it's becoming painfully clear that she is not the future of women's basketball. Her social media engagement might be high, but that doesn't translate to actual viewership or respect within the sport. She is obsessed with going viral, but viral moments don't make someone a superstar. They don't make people tune in. They don't make teams want to build around her. If Reese doesn't adjust her approach, her career will fade into irrelevance. She isn't improving her skills at the rate of other young stars, and if she continues prioritizing social media antics over her game, she will find herself left behind. Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark is focused on basketball. She isn't chasing headlines, she's winning games and breaking records. And that's why she, not Angel Reese, is the true face of women's basketball. Angel Reese's meltdown in Unrivaled wasn't just about one bad game. It was a symbol of her entire career strategy crumbling before her eyes. She thought Unrivaled would make her the biggest name in women's basketball. Instead, it's exposing her as the league's biggest liability. At this point, the truth is undeniable. Angel Reese is more drama than dominance. If she wants to be taken seriously, she needs to stop with the excuses, stop playing the victim, and start letting her game speak for itself. Otherwise, she'll go down as just another athlete who mistook controversy for greatness. From the moment Caitlin Clark entered the professional basketball scene, it was clear she was a game changer. The spotlight she commands is unmatched, and for players like Angel Reese, that reality is becoming harder to ignore. The Unrivaled League attempted to lure Clark with a staggering $1 million deal and equity in the league, hoping to use her name and influence to validate their struggling product. However, Clark saw through the ploy. This was never about basketball. It was a desperate attempt to legitimize a league that was already losing credibility before it even gained traction. Now, the cracks are showing, and the league's so-called biggest star, Angel Reese, seems to be looking for an escape. WNBA players, along with their allies in the mainstream media, have spent months downplaying Caitlin Clark's influence. They dismissed her significance, ignored the impact she was having on the sport, and even tried to overshadow her success with contrived narratives. Yet, the hypocrisy becomes glaringly obvious when money is involved. Suddenly, those same voices that diminished her now acknowledge her value. The fake outrage, the pretend animosity, it all conveniently disappears when revenue is on the line. But Clark doesn't entertain bad opportunities. She creates her own. Recently, she even declined an invitation to participate in the NBA All-Star Weekend three-point contest, an opportunity most other women's basketball players would have jumped at without hesitation. Instead, Clark chose to prioritize the WNBA, stating that she wanted her first three-point contest to be at the WNBA All-Star event in Indianapolis this summer. This decision sends a powerful message. She doesn't need gimmicks to stay relevant. She is the moment. Financially, Clark is already well established. She inked a $28 million deal with Nike, has endorsements from State Farm, and is backed by numerous other major brands. She doesn't need a desperate $1 million offer from a fledgling league looking to capitalize on her stardom. The attempt to buy her legitimacy was doomed to fail. And for Angel Reese, this reality is a bitter pill to swallow. Reese spent months trying to create a rivalry with Clark, hyping herself up and convincing the public that she was on the same level. But reality paints a different picture. The gap between Clark and Reese is undeniable. On the court, Clark's numbers, impact, and presence are unmatched. Off the court, her influence drives ratings, attendance, and sponsorships. Meanwhile, Reese finds herself embroiled in drama, struggling to back up her words with performances that truly matter. In a recent game, Reese's frustrations boiled over. She missed shots, lost composure, and ultimately got ejected, the first player ever to suffer that fate in an unrivaled game. Instead of stepping up when it mattered, she crumbled. Rather than taking accountability, she resorted to making excuses, playing the victim, and scrambling to maintain relevance. While Clark focuses on rewriting history, Reese seems more preoccupied with making headlines for the wrong reasons. The numbers don't lie. Clark's effect on the WNBA has been revolutionary. Even games that don't feature her are drawing unprecedented viewership. The Indiana Fever vs. Chicago Sky matchup garnered 2.3 million viewers. Another Fever game against the Storm pulled in 2.2 million. Even matchups between other teams, likely benefiting from the increased interest Clark has generated, have seen significant ratings boosts. Simply put, the Caitlin Clark effect is real, and it's reshaping the sport. Compare that to the unrivaled league's dismal performance. Their broadcast struggled to draw even 200,000 viewers. Coverage on Monday nights averaged just 166,000. Saturday night's coverage barely broke 98,000. A marquee matchup between Angel Reese and Dee Carrington barely managed 75,000. Had Caitlin Clark been involved, those numbers would have skyrocketed to over 500,000. The reality is undeniable. Clark is the engine driving women's basketball's newfound popularity. Without her, interest plummets. The contrast between Clark and Reese extends beyond statistics and ratings. Clark is singularly focused on making history, elevating the game, and securing her legacy. Reese, on the other hand, appears to be chasing clout, embroiled in unnecessary drama, and watching her reputation crumble under the weight of her own antics. The Caitlin Clark phenomenon isn't just about basketball, it's about a cultural shift. She is the first true megastar in women's basketball in decades, and the entire sports world has taken notice. Before Clark's arrival, WNBA games often struggled to capture mainstream attention. Now, even casual fans are tuning in. The league has a cash cow in Clark, yet some within the WNBA ecosystem seem hesitant to embrace it. Instead of fully supporting the player who is transforming their sport, some figures within the league and media have attempted to undermine her, as if resentful of her success. Clark's ability to navigate this dynamic is remarkable. She understands her value and moves strategically, ensuring that her influence benefits the right platforms. Her decision to reject Unrivaled was a clear indicator that she refuses to be used as a temporary ratings boost for a league that lacks sustainable appeal. She is not just another player, she is the future of women's basketball. Meanwhile, Angel Reese finds herself at a crossroads. She has built her brand on controversy and antagonism, yet those tactics are proving unsustainable. When the theatrics fade and the performance isn't there to back it up, what remains? Missed layups, ejections, and dwindling credibility. Reese may have gained social media fame, but fame doesn't always translate into a lasting basketball legacy. There's a stark difference between being well-known and being a true draw. Clark is both. Reese is only the former. At the end of the day, Caitlin Clark's dominance is undeniable. She doesn't need to seek out attention. It follows her. She doesn't need to manufacture rivalries. The numbers prove her superiority. And she doesn't need to accept every offer thrown her way. She chooses opportunities that align with her long-term vision. While Reese scrambles to salvage her image, Clark is cementing her place in history without even trying. Unrivaled's failure to establish itself as a legitimate competitor proves one thing: Caitlin Clark is the most valuable asset in women's basketball. Without her, the sport's resurgence would not be happening at the scale it is today. And no amount of missed shots, dramatic exits, or media-fueled controversies will change that fact.